Hello everyone and welcome back to the Final Chicane with me, Kristen Boylan. Guess what episode we're doing today, guys? We're doing the recap of the F1 Academy season. It's been a hot minute since my last F1 Academy episode. I think it was before the season even started, and I've just been sort of fitting in my talks on F1 Academy in my Formula 1 roundup episodes. So I'm excited to give F1 Academy its own episode again. Not that you couldn't tell by the title of this episode what this episode is going to be about, but please, even if you don't watch F1 Academy, if you usually just watch my podcasts about Formula 1, give this episode a go. Learn a little bit about F1 Academy this year and what has been happening for the first 3 races and what to expect from the rest of the season. Just so, because it will be on, and I guarantee you it will be on at some point when you're not doing anything, and I really, really think that you should dedicate some time to watch it because you'll never know how much you enjoy something unless you try it. I adore F1 Academy. I love watching it. I think it's so important to motorsport and to young women and to girls who might want to get into motorsport to have those idols right in the front of their eyes on the screen. So I think it's really important that we all promote it and we all support it as much as we can, and that's definitely what I do. I try to promote it, hopefully you can tell, with my podcast because I think it's amazing, and I think Susie Wolf has done an absolutely incredible job with it. But we're going to treat this like a normal episode, I guess, because it is a normal episode. I don't know how long it will be. I was just going to do like a recap of F1 and F1 Academy on TikTok, and then I figured no, I'll bring it to the podcast and we'll talk, and then I'll do like a shorter recap on TikTok because I know not everyone who listens to my podcast uses TikTok. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to start with the riddle of the week, as always though. I began racing young, moved to Europe to grow. In Spain I claimed a win, a high in my flow. Known for my crashes, penalties and speed. From Venezuela, I chased the F1 lead. Who am I? I've always struggled to say that word, Venezuela. That country. Venezuela? Venezuela. I don't know, I can't. My pronunciation for literally any word in the entire dictionary is awful. I might do a series on TikTok of words that I've pronounced wrong in Formula 1 because there's the list. I've started making a list on my phone to remind myself that's not how words are pronounced. But yeah, your biggest clue there obviously is a Venezuelan, is that even a word? I don't know. Formula 1 driver. So let me know if you know the answer and I will tell you the story about this person and the answer at the end of today's episode. Okay, let's get into F1 Academy. First of all, new mic. We're back to... It is a new mic, but it's the same as my old mic. But this is a trustworthy mic. And it was my fault the last one broke because I broke the lead on it. But I like these mics. I use Zeal Sound. It's definitely a cheaper mic, just in case anyone is ever going to think about getting any mics. But I am very clumsy, so I honestly don't think it's worth me buying a more expensive one because I would break it no matter what. So yeah, that's where I am on my mic situation. But yeah, the Final Chicane board is back. Everyone, we're not going to look at the floor. Just in case there is anyone here who hasn't watched the start of the F1 Academy or any of it or ever watched W Series or F1 Academy before, I'm going to explain the format to you. It'll only take a few minutes, so if you do already know all this, just bear with me. But if you don't, welcome, and I hope you learned something, and I will explain it to you. I'm happy to go deeper into everything and each driver and each team in a different episode or a TikTok or anything. Just let me know and I will do that. But basically, F1 Academy, why does F1 Academy exist? Why was F1 Academy made? The aim of F1 Academy is sort of to make motorsport more inclusive, accessible and diverse. It's important for everyone to see themselves in a certain sport, I think. I mean, not just sport, but just to focus on sport. It's always inspirational and it's always a nice thing for young people to have someone to look up to in the sport that they want to do. And with the lack of women in motorsport, particularly single-seater motorsport, it can be definitely hard to gather and gain that interest for young girls without them having a woman to look up to in motorsport. But to have a whole grid of incredible and talented women it's just very important, and I think we all need to be part of supporting that. So Susie Wolf is at the top of this. She organised the entire series. She's pushing this sport to the highest that it can possibly go. It is more of a feeder series, and that is the aim, to give these women a platform and I guess a tool to work on their skills and prove their skill, and prove themselves in general, I think. So Susie Wolf has done an absolutely incredible job with this, and I told her that. I met Susie in Barcelona at the Grand Prix. It was an F1 Academy race weekend as well, and I told her that she did an incredible job, that she's doing an incredible job with F1 Academy, and I just thanked her for that. And she thanked me back. She was like, "Oh, thanks for saying that." And that's the best moment of my life, because you guys know the love we have for Susie Wolf over a year. So I actually have had a conversation. Well, does a conversation count if it's only I spoke to Susie Wolf and she spoke to me back. So I am actually better than everyone else in the entire world. I joke. Okay, so what is the structure of the F1 Academy weekend? Well, so similar to Formula 1, there are practice sessions, but there is 2 practice sessions and they are both 40 minutes long. They're just your typical practice session. Then there is qualifying. So qualifying is 30 minutes, and basically the fastest lap sets the grid for race number 1, and then everyone's second fastest lap sets the grid for race number 2. So there's one qualifying for both races, and then there are 2 races. The races are about a half an hour each on Saturday and Sunday. That is the format of it. So it is obviously very different to Formula 1, being that there's 2 races and 1 qualifying, not even as a sprint, because we see with the sprint race now, you have a separate qualifying in Formula 1 for the sprint, and then you have qualifying for the race. But I'm very glad that there are 2 races as well, because it really gives the girls a chance to shine with how few weekends there actually are. Because if something goes wrong one of the days, you always have the next day or the day before if it goes wrong on the Sunday. There are 15 drivers. There are 16 with the wildcard entry. So wildcard entry is basically with Prema, they take on a driver from a certain country, wherever the race is. So in Miami, they took on an American driver, Courtney. In Barcelona, they took on a Spanish driver. So that's how it works. I'm not sure who the wildcards are for the rest of the season, but they are allowed to score points, and it counts, and it basically just counts as them scoring points. You never know, a wildcard could come in and win a race and finish quite high in the standings if not many people finish in points. So I think that's a very exciting thing. It gives even more women a chance. So there's 2 points for pole, and there's 2 poles because there's 2 races. So you can get 4 points if you get pole twice, or whoever gets it. I don't need to explain that to you, you know what that is. And similar to Formula 1, the top 10 get points. First place gets 25 points, second place gets 18 points, third place gets 15 points, fourth place gets 12 points, fifth place gets 10 points, sixth place gets 8 points, 7th place gets 6 points, 8th place gets 4 points, 9th place gets 2 points, and 10th place gets 1 point. That's sort of hard to say altogether, there's a lot of numbers there. And then there is a fastest lap point if you're in the top 10, same as Formula 1. So a lot of points up for grabs in both races. And then at the end of the entire season, the top 5 in the standings will get super license points. It's not a whole lot of super license points, but it's something. And without the series, they wouldn't have that opportunity. So let's go. It's been an exciting series so far. So there are the teams and there are the drivers for the teams, but then each team is supported by a sponsor. Many of them are Formula 1 teams. You know, there's Charlotte Tilbury, there's Tommy Hilfiger. I'll go through everyone now. So I'll go through all of the drivers, first of all, just so you know. So supported by Visa Cash App or B is Al Qubaisi, and she is in the team MP Motorsport. Her sister is also in F1 Academy, and her sister is driving for Red Bull Racing, which I think is the cutest thing ever. Like Visa Cash App and Orby, and then their sisters and their sister teams. It's just so cute. I really root for them both. And so Hamd Al Qubaisi is from Red Bull Racing, and that team is MP Motorsport. She's number 8, and her sister is number 88. So very cute. Maya Wug, she is supported by Scuderia Ferrari, incredible driver, and that team is Prema Racing. Leah Block, an American driver, she's supported by Williams, and her team is ART Grand Prix. Nerea Marti, she is Spanish, and the Spanish crowd absolutely love her, I will say. The cheers she was getting at the Barcelona Grand Prix, it was so nice to see. Her team is Campos Racing, and that team is supported by Tommy Hilfiger. Doriane Pan, she's supported by Mercedes, she's French, and she is with Prema as well. Aurelia Nobels, she's Brazilian, she's supported by Puma, and her team is ART Grand Prix. Tina Hausmann, she is from Switzerland. She's supported by Aston Martin, and her team is Prema Racing. Jess Edgar, she's English, she's supported by American Express, and her team is Rodden Motorsport. Bianca Bustamante, she is supported by McLaren, and she is with ART Grand Prix. Carrie Schreiner, she's German, she's supported by Sauber, and her team is Campos Racing. Chloe Chambers is American, she's supported by Haas, her team is Campos Racing. Abby Pauling is English, she's supported by Alpine, and her team is Rodden Motorsport. Emily Dehue, supported by Red Bull Ford, and her team is MP Motorsport. And Lola Lovenfoss, she is French, and she's supported by Charlotte Tilbury, her team is Rodden Motorsport as well. So they are all the drivers, 15 drivers, 16 including a wildcard. So let's debrief on the races so far. There's been 3 races, so we're done half the F1 Academy season, or there's been 3 rounds. Obviously there's 2 races each weekend. The first round was in Jeddah, so let's talk about Jeddah. I was very excited for Jeddah. I think I watched like nearly the entire race weekend in college, because I was in college a lot that weekend studying everything. I was just in the library with it on, and in the cafeteria with it on. I have like different locations, just watching it while walking and everything like that. But it was an exciting weekend, and honestly, from the first weekend, I thought Doriane Pan was gonna run away with F1 Academy. I was like, this girl is at a whole different level. She's unreal, and she is unreal. She's all of those things. But I was quite excited to see that she didn't actually run away with it, and there was a bit more of a competition than I thought. You can never tell by the first race. I should have known that. In race 1, Doriane got pole. She led every single lap. The only point that she missed out on that entire race was for fastest lap, with Abby Pulling getting the fastest lap race. But Doriane, she pulled away straight away. She was consistent. She didn't make a single mistake in that race. She was fast. Even in the practice sessions, you could see she was the one that everyone had their eye on. And then race 2, again, Doriane was incredible, well-paced, clean on the track. You know when there's just a satisfying driver to watch drive? I find that with Doriane. And Doriane, she crossed the line first, but she did not win race 2 because she got a penalty. A penalty that, a very unlucky penalty. She got a 20-second penalty because she crossed the checkered flag twice. I don't know if she just didn't realise that the race was over, but the second time she crossed it full speed. So lucky she didn't get disqualified for that, but she did get a 20-second penalty, which obviously pushed her down and promoted Pulling to P1 and Maiwug to P2. I guess that was a bit of a lack of communication from teams. Obviously, if you're a driver and you're not told that it's the last lap, you might not be looking out for that checkered flag. I guess it's quite an easy thing to miss. Obviously, you're not keeping count of the laps in your head. So it might have just been just in case we're not actually done, maybe I'll just keep driving. Like, if you're just such in that zone, I guess I could probably understand that if I was a racing driver, but I'm not. So yeah, after round 1, I really thought Doriane Pan, she was going to have this season easily, because she did win both races. So she didn't actually win race 2, and rules are rules. So Abby Pulling won race 2, and then Abby Pulling started to run away with it from there on. Round 2, Miami. That was a great weekend, Miami. Mainly the vibes were there. There's a few things about the Miami race week that I'll talk about later, a few of the more negative parts of it. But there was great crowd support for F1 Academy in Miami. I know Charlotte Tilbury had quite a lot of things going on with a lot of women in the paddock. Miami, Abby won both races in Miami. She got both poles. She finished race 1 5 seconds ahead of P2, which is incredibly impressive. They're all in very similar cars. And then race 2, I think she won by just under 4 seconds. So Abby definitely showcased herself as the one to watch from then on. She's so young. She's from England. She's driving for Alpine, the most success Alpine have had in a little while. I don't think she got fastest lap, so I think like Dorian, she missed out on fastest lap. But luckily enough for Dorian, she podiumed twice as well that weekend, so the gap wasn't huge. But Abby then left round 2 with 3 race wins compared to Dorian's 1. Bianca Bustamante also made it to the podium in race 2. She came third after a very, very impressive drive. And Chloe Chambers, at that race, she definitely caught my eye because she was definitely one to watch from then on. Her overtaking is insane. She has that speed. She's a clean driver. I think her qualifying isn't always as good as it could be, as I think she has in her. But she always makes that up in the race pace. And I just really want her to have a perfect qualifying weekend followed by a perfect race weekend so you can see that full speed and what she does in that position. So Chloe actually, she ended up getting the Haas podium. She started P7 and went to P3 in race 1 and she was P4 in race 2. So again, that consistency there is very incredible. Bianca Bustamante, she has been having a few problems, mainly with the race starts. She stalled race 1. Was it race 1? She stalled in race 1, made her way back up to P9, which was an impressive drive itself. Race 2, P2, which, again, that's exactly what she needed for that weekend because I'm sure a lot of pressure and it's probably a horrendous feeling losing the hope that you had because of a stall at the race start. So that's not ideal. One thing she probably does need to work on is her race starts, but after she actually gets the car moving, she does seem to get the best out of it. So yeah, in race 2, Bianca finished P2. Very impressive. Again, from Miami, the other 2 drivers in particular that I thought were looking pretty strong and consistent were Nerea Marti and Alcabasi. But I don't know, I feel like I have a good feeling that she'll make a jump forward in the rest of the season. Nerea too. It was just so, like, I just can't stress how much I enjoyed watching them in Barcelona. I was on my deathbed on the Sunday. Spoke about this before. You're like, girl, we get it. You were ill on Sunday. But I was. But you know what? I didn't miss F1 Academy. I was lying on the floor right up until I heard the first F1 Academy car come out onto the track. And then I was up in my seat watching. And I felt better after F1 Academy. So it's actually maybe that was the cure all along. I think I'll say the third person, apart from the obvious, Abby and Dorian and Chloe. Nerea Alcabasi and Maya Vug. She is a real talent. She dropped a little in Miami compared to how consistent she was in Jeddah. Me saying that, like a small drop, she was still P5 and P6 that weekend. So she's definitely one to keep an eye on, obviously the Ferrari driver. As I said earlier, this episode, so early, they've only had 3 races so far. So anything can really happen and the championship is still open. Round 3, Barcelona. I've already talked about Barcelona and not even here. Barcelona is where we particularly saw Campos Racing come into the picture more in the hands of Chloe Chambers and Nerea Marti as well. Obviously special for Campos because they are a Spanish team, so Barcelona was their home race and Nerea's home race as well. They emerged as serious title contenders after Barcelona. So in Barcelona, Pulling finished P1 again, and in race 2 she finished P2. So at the end of that, she took a 66-point lead in the championship to Dorian Pan. And then very iconically and not unexpectedly because of her form in the first 2 races, Chloe Chambers took a win, a very impressive win as well, and that boosted her and secured her to 3rd in the standings. Marti came 2nd, her podium, in race 1 and 4th in race 2, which the Spanish crowd absolutely loved that podium in race 1. Every time she would drive around, everyone on our side of the admission area stood up and cheered for her, which, iconic. You'll see people on the internet tell you no one actually cares about F1 Academy and no one watches it, but just know that they're lying, because when you actually experience an F1 Academy race in real life, you see how turned to focus everyone in that crowd is and how they're all cheering on their favourite drivers and their favourite say, country of the team or whatever it is. So don't let anyone ever tell you F1 Academy isn't important, because it is important. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But maybe just let other people like it, you know? No need to be an absolute weirdo. I realise I've been saying Alcobacy and there's 2 Alcobacies. I need to remember that, but you just don't know which one I'm talking about. Hamda is the Red Bull driver. She has been having a really impressive season so far. Alcobacy, or Amna Alcobacy, is the Visa Cash App or B driver. She is having a more quiet season, but still consistent. She was consistently in the top 10 for Barcelona. I was talking about Amna Alcobacy earlier when I said the drivers that I'm keeping my eye on. But Hamda Alcobacy is a real talent, and I think we need to watch out for her. Barcelona, not a great weekend for Bianca Bustamante. She didn't have great races. She got a penalty for race 2. And then Dorian Pan, again, not the best weekend. She finished P7 and P5. Not bad results, but when she started off the season so strongly and with that win, and then with other podiums, she would want to be podiuming. Yeah, I'd say that's a word. In Barcelona, we also saw De Hughes get her first point. She got 9 points. She came 6th in race 1. And Leah Bloch, she came P6 in race 2. So there were some more points there. I've got my trusty book out. So what I do all season is that I write my own notes on every race. I'll probably say this again next week. But I write my own notes down, not letting you read them, because I want to be able to remember my own opinions and stuff before like the media get involved and before there's a chance for anything to like sort of change my mind on them, if that makes sense. I also like to know what I'm thinking, and sometimes what's important to me may not be important in like the recap videos or whatever, so I find it important to keep my own notes. So I thought I'd read out some of my notes on what I wrote about the drivers during the season. I said Abby Pauling. I picked her as the most consistent driver so far. She's leading the championship. She's for Rodin. 147 points, I believe, in the championship, and she's just incredibly impressive. I met Abby in Barcelona as well. I met her when she was walking out with her trophy, and she was taking a picture with a girl, and she had it down, and then she quickly put up the trophy so it would be in the picture. And then she came over to me and I was like, girl, we need to get that trophy in the picture. And so she made sure to get the trophy in the pictures that she took. They are all so sweet, let me tell you. They are the sweetest girls ever. And they're so young. Like, imagine being that young and being able to do that. I think Nobel's is 17 years old. That's so young. I don't even have my driving license yet. Speaking of, I do have my test coming up soon and I'm very nervous. Dorian Pan, Prema Racing in 2nd. She's 81 points. She has been dealing with balance issues, to be fair. She has some problems with the car, so there is always that. But I think her confidence might have been knocked a little since the start. She looked really confident at the start, and outside of F1 Academy, she's doing great in other series that she's taken part in. But I think that when she gets this time to reset, hopefully they've figured out a little over the first 3 races about the balance issues with the car. Hopefully she'll be back in flying form. Maiwug, again, her race pace is incredible, but she has been struggling a bit in qualifying again. I find that, so Abby is quite consistent in qualifying and the race, Dorian as well. Maiwug, in my opinion, definitely has better racecraft than one lap pace in qualifying. She's made some incredible overtakes and just some great moves in general, so hopefully we can see just a bit more of an improvement for qualifying. I wrote the same for Emily De Hughes. I said again that she might be struggling a bit with qualifying, but again, a stronger race pace. Chloe Chambers, she's 3rd in the championship. She is going under the radar a bit in comparison to Abby and Dorian Pan, but like I've said probably a million times already, she just is so impressive. 81 points. Am I right to say that she's drawing with Dorian right now in the championship? I can't actually remember her exact number of points. It might be 81 as well. But yeah, her overtaking moves have been incredible. I think it was Miami that really showcased it for her. Bianca Bustamante, ART, like I said, she's 5th. Obviously her race starts are a problem when, as I said, she stalled in Miami race 1. But she has been very impressive to make up the positions that she lost in that way. So again, I'm excited to see how she does for the rest of the season. I met her as well I met Chloe as well. Yeah, Chloe and Bianca were both very sweet. Hamda Al-Kbaisi, very strong qualifier. Very strong. I would say most of the girls seem to have better racecraft than one race pace, but Hamda, I think, is a better qualifier. But then she might need to just pick up how she finishes a little stronger. She's a very strong qualifier though. She's definitely my favourite to watch in qualifying. She just seems to get everything out of that car. Tina Hausman, again, a really incredible and impressive driver. I think her main problem so far is that she seems to be getting into quite a few lap incidents. Either she takes someone out or someone takes her out. Not always her fault, but I think that she just needs to keep it a bit more clean and she'll get a bit more into the points. Amna El-Kbaisi, I think almost sort of opposite to her sister. I would say that she has the stronger racecraft compared to Hamda, but Hamda has a better qualifying than Al-Kbaisi, than Amna. I don't mean to just keep comparing them, I just thought it was interesting how I'd see those two opposites in both. It is actually probably really annoying that they get compared, so I should stop comparing them to each other. But I think Amna has one of the best racecrafts on the grid. She just needs to qualify better, so she has less places to make up and she can finish a bit higher. Leah Block, she had a bit of contact with the wall in race 1 and then she had contact in race 2. Again, sort of similar to Hausman, she just needs to work on keeping it a bit more clean. One thing about Leah though is that she has a lot of motivation. She seems ready and roaring for the second half of this F1 Academy season, and that's what you need because so much of it is mental. You can't just physically drive the car, you need to mentally be in the right headspace to drive the car. Arlene O'Bells, the Ferrari driver, she's had her ups and downs, but major improvements have happened recently and more to come, I would say. I met Nobels, very sweet. They were all sweet. I've said that before, but I just was having the time of my life meeting them all in Barcelona. Carrie Schreiner, not the season I think she expected, because we know from other series and from before that she is a strong racer. I don't know if it's just the changing series and not completely being able to gel with the car yet. It's only been 3 races, we need to remember. 3 rounds. I know, 6 races. Anything can change. There's 4 more races in the season, so we're not halfway. We won't be halfway until like 1 more race. And Ray Marty, like I talked about, she's a really strong qualifier as well, but she also has a great racecraft, so she has both going there. And she's 4th in the championship right now. Constructors wise, teams wise, it's Roden P1, Campos P2, who snuck in there with Chloe and Maria, and then Prema P3. Very close in points. I think probably 20 points separating each, maybe less for 2 and 3. I think MP would be 4th and ART would be 5th then. Yeah, with the MP drivers, qualifying is definitely probably the main downfall, or even with the car, it might not just have that first lap pace. What to watch out for the rest of the season? Well, P3 is wide open, I think. Anyone can get it. Everyone needs to push their weight. Obviously the wildcard entries as well can always switch things up. I guess the 2 drivers I didn't talk about yet, Jess Edgar, she's Roden. It's been quite a frustrating series for her, especially because we know how good Jess Edgar is. And I guess same with Lola Lovenfoss. She's been involved in some incidents as well. She's finding it difficult to connect with the car, but she's made some good moves all season. Lola's in that Charlotte Tilbury iconic, beautiful, gorgeous car. And the support Charlotte Tilbury, like the woman Charlotte Tilbury, has been given to F1 Academy is also incredible. Like, she's obviously at every race. She organises events, she invites influencers. And I mean, I don't mind any of that. Anything to bring attention to F1 Academy is great. I'm hopeful there will be a little less sexism for the remainder of the series. One thing that I'm not completely happy with is that F1 Academy seems to get pushed to the side a lot during race weekends. I know in Barcelona, I was watching it. I couldn't have been closer to the track physically. I was standing at the barrier of the track. The cars were a few meters away from me going past, and I could barely hear them because right behind me there was a concert going on for a Queen tribute band in the fan zone. And that I found disappointing because the race was happening. And okay, so the concert only went on about, I think, 15 minutes into the race. But the races are short, they're half an hour. Like, there's no concert was on after that. So there's no reason that the concert couldn't have been pushed back or just ended earlier so it didn't cross over. And there was like no one at the concert anyway. I mean, there were a few people just wandering around, but there's more people watching F1 Academy than there were at the concert. Luckily, it was Queen, or a Queen tribute band, so... But I just don't think there's a need for the concert to be playing during F1 Academy. That also happened in Miami as well. So they just keep scheduling concerts during F1 Academy. Hopefully the track commentators will be chosen a little better. If you missed it in Miami, one of the commentators, a man, literally started off a sentence saying not to be sexist, but... And then he was talking about how, oh, they need to fix their hair before when they go on the podium, and, oh, they're looking in mirrors, blah, blah, blah. Like, what? Who cares? Let me just say something. Just because a girl wears makeup and wants to look nice and wants to get nice pictures doesn't make her any less of an incredible athlete. A lot of people found problems, especially with Charlotte Tilbury sponsoring a car. They were like, no, this is giving the wrong message, that girls are all just about makeup and stuff. And I think it's given the complete right message that an athlete can be any sort of girl. It can be the most girly girl in the world who wears dresses and does her makeup every day and like whatever. Or it could be a girl who doesn't wear makeup ever, who's never once wore makeup. Like, who actually cares? And athletes are athletes at the end of the day, and that's what these girls are. No matter any of the other circumstances involved. So if we could just treat these girls like athletes, who cares if she wants to make sure she looks nice before a podium? Who wouldn't? Like, you've just finished a strong race. You see the boys fixing their hair, taking off their caps and fixing their hair before a podium. Like, why? What's the issue? And it's never said, oh, look at him fixing his hair before the podium. Like, you can bet if I was an F1 Academy girl, I'd be whipping out a hairbrush if I was on the podium, brushing my hair, getting some nice pictures for Instagram. Because after I've just slayed on track and drove my heart out, I'm going to get some nice Instagram pictures, okay? So yeah, hopefully there's less sexism. Also, they just stopped showing the race on the screens at the track in Miami as well. And I think they weren't even showing anything. I think they were just showing, like, I don't know, promo bits or something like that. Or was it that they were showing the concert on the screens as well as the concert being going on? They also put on the screens around the track to show the concert, not the driving that was taking place right then and there. So that needs to change. 4 races left of F1 Academy. Round 4, Zandvoort, August 23rd to 25th. So that is the next race in Formula 1 as well, Zandvoort, after the summer break. Round 5, Singapore, September the 20th to the 22nd. Round 6, Lusail, November 29th to the 1st of December. And round 7, last round, Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, 6th to the 8th of December. So much more to go. And then one of the most exciting things to come out this year, that F1 Academy are getting their own series on Netflix. They're getting a docu-series produced by Hello Sunshine, which is Reese Witherspoon's production company. And it's out in 2025. It basically just follows the on-track moments and then the behind-the-scenes. And it just lets you know the girls who are racing and giving them a name. And it's also just going to increase the support because it is a lot easier to support a sport when you're rooting for people in general and when you have something to root for. Like, it's the same with Formula 1. Formula 1 is a lot less interesting to people who are watching and don't know a thing about any of the drivers. But when you start to know the drivers and you know their history and you know how much like a win would mean to them and stuff, it's a whole different sort of watching experience. So yeah, that's one exciting thing to look out for in 2025. Reese Witherspoon's quote on this was, "As these dynamic and fearless drivers break barriers behind the wheel, we are excited to partner with Netflix to tell the stories of these powerhouse leaders. What we know is that when we put women at the centre, people show up to watch." That's an iconic quote. Love Reese for that. I'm so excited for that series. Netflix globally. And you can bet I'll be promoting my life out of it. The life out of it. My life out of it. I don't know. The life. I'll just be promoting it a lot. Right, is that all I have to say on F1 Academy? Yeah, the podium finishers this year. Plan Pulling, Vogue, Marty, Bustamante, Chambers, and Hamd Al Khabaisi. I think that's it. 3 races. I was like, this is going to be a really short episode, but like usual, I just yap. Let's do Riddle of the Week. So the answer of Riddle of the Week this week was Pastor Maldonado, the icon himself. Let's talk about him. Pastor, he's full of surprises. He started karting when he was 7 years old. I always find it weird. Like, I know that's probably a bit older than some people who are starting karting. Did you hear that? Earthquake, I swear. Oh, baby, it's okay. Come on up. Sorry, we live near... Oh, Chico, do you want to say hi to the camera? He's not growling at me. I have another dog at my feet here who he likes to growl at. But sorry, he's going to be on my lap, so if you hear noise. We live near a quarry, so every now and again we get mini earthquakes. Whenever, I don't know, like, do they explode things at the quarry or whatever they're doing? But my dog is terrified of them. He'll find the smallest places possible to hide, and he will hide there. And sometimes he's impossible to find. Like last time he was hiding behind the fridge. I don't even know how he can fit there. His name is Chico, and he is my son. He's so beautiful, look at him. He's very sweet to humans, but he doesn't love other dogs all that much. So yeah, sorry, he just got a little scared with that earthquake. Maldonado is who we were talking about. He has some serious highs in his career. He won the Italian Formula Renault Championship in 2004, and basically that was the reason why he got his shot in Formula 1. He had a stunning win in 2012 at the Spanish Grand Prix. He was driving for Williams at the time. I'd say it was the Barcelona Grand Prix in 2012, was it? Yeah. It was a huge moment, and he was the first Venezuelan to ever win a Formula 1 race, which I'm sure was very special. Unfortunately, his career was also marked a bit by being a little inconsistent, particularly with crashes and just moments that earned him quite a few penalties throughout his career. He sort of drove a bit wild, and yeah, that's sort of what he was known for around the paddock. He had a few tough years. He was with Lotus for most of them, and it wasn't him per se, it wasn't his wild driving, it was more just reliability issues, and then, you know, the financial problems with Lotus. And Maldonado's F1 career then came to an end in 2015. But he's still a memorable figure. He definitely is in Venezuelan history for that incredible win. Okay, we've got another dog coming to join us. This is Douglas. But yeah, that's all we have for today. Do you want to say bye to everyone, Doug? Bye. Oh, also, before I go, last week I released an interview with Amy Gibbard, a Red Bull design engineer. A very, very talented and impressive engineer. She does quite a lot of bits around, but one of the things she does is the pit. What are they called? The wheel guns for the tyres. And we do know how impressive Red Bull are with their pit stops. So that's sort of to her. So I'd love if you gave that a watch. But yeah, that should be my most recent one before this. So let me know if you give that a watch and what you think. Let me know if you got the riddle right. And I will see you for the Formula 1 mid-season review next week. Goodbye. Bye. Bye everyone.